Hey guys, Jordan Nilsson here, host of Real Estate Pros on Lister Pros TV. Today we're in studio with Trevor Halpern of North & Co. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and joining me on Real Estate Pros.
Right on. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So for those watching that don't know who you are, we'll give you a moment to introduce yourself.
Right on. Trevor Halpern. I am the CEO of Halpern Residential at North & Co. So I'm a real estate agent running a team at North & Co.
Awesome. So how long you been in real estate?
Started in 2011, so 8 years. Yeah, I think that's right, 8 years. Seems like, sometimes it seems like 25 years, sometimes it seems like 2 years.
Right.
The business is a little, every day it's a little bit different. So new challenges every day. So 8 years and running.
Awesome. So how has your business changed since you first started to what it looks like today? Because obviously you brought in a team member on your team, so obviously you have some type of team element to Did you call it Halpern Residential?
Halpern Residential.
Okay.
Yep. I will say that my business has the look and the feel of it has changed like drastically since I first started. The way I conduct my business, I don't think has changed. The structure of it from being, starting out as one agent, you're just like a transactional agent, right? Like, when's the next deal come in? How am I going to pay the bills?
Yeah, I got to eat.
Right? Exactly. Before I had kids, I used to joke, man, I got to feed my kids. It's just me. But, but you start out in this business really being transactional because that's your paycheck. But over the years, as you build and you grow and you build a database and you have clients that are repeat and you're building a network that's sending people to you, you have the opportunity to change the structure of it. So adding assistants and teammates and that sort of stuff that allow me to serve my clients more fully and better use my time for strategy as opposed to tactics, that's really what has changed. Where it was, it used to be it was like a one-man show. I'm doing everything except transaction management, which was a huge component of it. From my first transaction, I brought in a transaction manager. Oh, wow. My friend April Noble. She's still to this day now. She's my assistant and transaction manager. So from first transaction to where I am now, where she's my full-time licensed assistant, I have used a transaction management component as a way of leveraging. And I think that's an important thing for people that are starting in the business. It's like if you're trying to do everything, you're spinning your wheels. You're wasting a lot of time doing stuff that isn't revenue generating and that really isn't doing anything for your clients.
Sure.
Whereas if you handed that off to someone that could do it better than you can do it, and you can focus on delivering a better product or a better set of systems to your clients, that was one of those like little realizations that I had early on that has carried through in the way I conduct my business today.
So what are your guys' main focuses? What do you guys focus on, and what are those clients that you serve?
Mm-hmm. I would say, I really am I am a network-based agent, right? So what that means to me and what that means to my clients is I get pulled where my clients want me. So I don't really push myself into a market. Like I haven't stamped myself, a North Central real estate agent or a Paradise Valley or an Arcadia or a Tempe agent. I go where my clientele is. As a network-based agent, a lot of my network happens to be in the areas that I live and work, which is Arcadia and North Central, primarily North Central Phoenix. So I do a lot of business in North Central, but like if you scatter plotted all of my listings and sales on a map, it's just like it's just spread all over the place. So my main focus would be in kind of the Central Phoenix area, but I get out. I go where people want me to go. I'll work land, I'll work investments, I'll work single family properties, I'll work apartments. If we start getting too technical into commercial stuff, it's like I've got buddies that do commercial real estate, and I hand it off to them and let them serve our mutual client better than me trying to bumble through it.
Sure. So talk to us about North & Co. and why you chose them, because there's a lot of options here in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. Well, let's see. I think I moved over to North & Co. two and a half years ago. I was with a big international brokerage from day one until I moved over to North & Co. in real estate. Great start, great company, but I was finding that I was like hitting a ceiling. And so I started poking around at other brokerages, and I've got a friend of mine, Allie Flath, who was a title rep. I called her one day, and she's close with Brian and North & Co. and called her and said, "What do you think about North & Co.?" And she was like, she kind of like hemmed and hawed. And I was like, what, not a good fit, not a good place? She goes, you know what? Why don't you talk to Brian and Stephanie? Stephanie Gonzalez is the head of operations. Or why don't you talk to Brian and Steph, and then let's talk. And like 20 minutes later, Brian called me. I was like, hey, I hear we should meet. So I was like, let's do it. And I had one cup of coffee with Brian, and the dude blew my mind. Taking that like transactional agent and pulling that away from you and saying, put a CEO hat on. Get in that CEO mind space and run your business like a business, not just a transaction to transaction. And so just in that hour meeting that I had with Brian, I threw out a lofty goal. He's like, dude, we can do that in 2 years, not 5. He's like, sprinkle a little of this on there, do this, retool it, blah, 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 and we'll do it. I called Allie after that meeting and was like, is he real? Is this real? And she's like, he's as real as you are. She's like, absolutely. What you heard there is who he is and what he's going to do. And so I thought about it a lot. It probably took me 3 or 4 months to really commit. And then I moved over, and it's like, it's been amazing since. North & Co is set up to help the agents become better agents through better business practices and through better education, so that we can be better agents for our clients. And if we're better agents for our clients and we're better business people, our businesses are going to grow.
Right.
So it's like I call it the brokerage of the future. They're setting it up and they're preparing us to go out there. Like, what tools can we give you? Not just like, oh, here's a nice glossy sheet that you can take to clients, or here's our standard, blue package you give to every luxury client. It's like, no, like, what's going on in the market? Every week we have a discussion, we have a coffee talk where like everyone from the brokerage calls in. It's like, what's going on in the market? Let's make sure we're all feeling the same thing. And if we felt this, what does that mean? So education from that standpoint, as well as education on how to be better agents, how to serve our clients better, and how to build better businesses. And so I think in my first year at North & Co, my business grew by 35%.
Jeez. Wow.
So it's been
Talk
awesome.
about big impact. Just by, the brokerage and the people that you're hanging out with. Obviously, sounds like a lot of mind shift, or, a little bit of shifting in how you're thinking about your business and growing it. Obviously, you saw the results, 35%. So amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. And that's it. I mean, it's mind shift, and it's leverage, and it's buying into the idea. I mean, my first meeting with Brian and Steph when I came over was like, okay, well, let's figure out, what do you need to do to grow your business? It's like, do you need to hire an assistant, or do you need branding? And we kind of went through a couple of exercises, and Brian's like, you need an assistant. And I'd had one for a while before. It didn't work out, so I was like burned on it. So it's like, I'm back to just me and my transaction coordinator. But I hired an assistant, and I went through with the branding exercise that we talked about beforehand.
The logo.
Trevor. Yeah. We call him Little T.
I'm like, dude, I checked out the website before you walked in. I'm like, all right, the logo. I'm like, and then I saw a picture at the bottom with somebody that was shaved. I'm like, I wonder if he looks like the logo now or not, or if that's somebody else. Trevor walks in. I'm like, dude, it's the logo.
It's the logo. We're gonna have to integrate that in our marketing, the logo. But no, I mean, getting a decent brand that's recognizable, and honestly, having my face as a brand is like a little bit embarrassing, and it's like a little,
you're committed to the beard, man.
Well, totally. Well, and like I said before we went on air, my wife is like, awesome. Now you can never shave your beard. It's your brand, so like it never goes away. So it works out really, really well.
That's awesome. So talk to us about the current state of real estate and the market in general in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're in a there's a lot of talk about like, oh, well, just wait to buy and this and that. People are feeling market forces that they can't explain, so they think we're at the top of the cycle. And if you look at history, if you look at the spans of cycles, we're probably timing wise due for some sort of correction. But if you look at the fundamentals of the real estate market right now and the economy and interest rates potentially being lowered and whatnot, it still feels, to me, healthy as like a ground pounder perspective. I've got my finger on the pulse of buyers and my finger on the pulse of sellers, and like no one is vibrating yet. Everyone seems pretty cool. Buyers and sellers are having to work together to get deals done. No one is like really spitting in the other person's face. So to me, it feels healthy. I bought a house. Well, actually, it was a year ago, but the market forces to me feel relatively the same as they did a year ago, but I still feel good about it. I'm still out there working with investors. I'm still out there helping people buy homes and sell homes. And I've always said, like, if we get to the point where if I wouldn't buy a house, I don't think I can sell someone a house, right? Like, if I personally wouldn't buy it, I'm not going to encourage someone to buy, unless it's like, here are the risks that I see, and you are accepting these risks. Like, you are fully knowledgeable about what I'm feeling. I don't think I could justify it. Now, from a business standpoint, that's bad business. But if you look at it holistically, it's like, if I think the market is in such a position that I wouldn't help someone buy, that means there's opportunity elsewhere and I can still make money. So I'd rather do the right thing by someone and go find another opportunity. As Brian North always says, he's like, look for the empty parking space. Like, what is it that people aren't doing, and go find it. So I think in any market climate, from the standpoint of a real estate professional, I think there's always going to be opportunity. You just have to be tuned in and savvy enough and willing to take risks to go out there and chase it.
So what advice would you give to a real estate agent that just fresh out of getting their license? What advice would you give them to be able to find success and longevity in the business as you have?
I think there are a handful of pieces of advice. One, I think the first piece is get a mentor. I didn't have a mentor until Brian. And I just kind of, like, through grit and determination and trying to be as savvy as I could have, pushed through and worked. I didn't have a deal for my first 6 months in the business. And then I got my first deal, and then it just kept going because of all that momentum that I'd built up and pushed. But you really should find a mentor, and not a mentor that's like, hey, dude, I'll help you with some deals and you can give me 20%. The first 5 deals are going to be 20. And then, like, find someone who's genuinely interested in helping you as a person, and build business systems based on what that person has done to build some success. There are enough people in real estate, there are enough people that have done stuff. You never have to invent the wheel. I mean, unless you're really chasing something novel, you can invent it. But to be a real estate practitioner and a relatively successful person that is going to be able to generate 6 figures of income, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So one would be get a mentor. 2 would be prepare to not make money for 6 months to a year. Whatever that is, even before you go into real estate school, say, hey, if I'm going to really cut loose and do this, I need to understand that I'm probably not going to make money for a little bit. And then 3, I would say, work your tail off. This business is one, especially in the beginning, where results out are directly proportional to your effort in. So if you really work hard and you're working smart and you're dedicating the time and the effort to it, results will come. It may take 6 months, it may take 1 month, it may take 3 months, it may take a year, but they will come if you really continue to work on it and you show your community, your sphere, that this is what I'm doing. I'm committed to it, and I'm building and I'm working, and whatever, leads will start to come, things will start to open up. But it really is work. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm getting into real estate so I can set my own schedule. Like, if my wife hears people say that, she's just like, oh my God, you have no idea. Because my schedule isn't my own, right? It's
right.
I come home and it's like, hey, I'm home, and then the phone rings, and clients, they can't take phone calls during the day at work, or they're surgeons or they're lawyers or what. Like, they are committed to their work during the day, and at 6 o'clock they get home, they talk to their spouse or whatever, and then they're like, hey, now we have time to talk. Well, that's my family time too. So scheduling, if you're really active in this business, you can mold it the way you want to a certain extent, but you're always going to be kind of at the behest of your clients, and that's what providing a really good service is all about.
Wow, so a lot of great recommendations for brand new people to get in and find. I think finding a mentor, all those things that you mentioned are very, very important. So
Thank you.
If somebody watching this is interested in reaching out to you and asking some additional questions, or maybe a potential buyer or seller, I guess you cover pretty much anywhere in the valley. How do people get a hold of you in Halpern Residential?
Yeah, the easiest way is to call or text 602-595-4200. That goes. The coolest part about that is it goes to 3 team members, including me. So if you text that number, someone's going to get to you right away. So 602-595-4200.
And that was the last question I wanted to ask was your structure of your team. What does it look like today? Because it sounds like you have, if firing on all cylinders. You just mentioned that if somebody texts that number, there's coverage on it.
There is, and that really is the most important thing for me, is to make sure that my clients are taken care of the way that they want to be taken care of. So the way that I've built my team, it's me on the front end as far as strategy is concerned, and we added a new role and a new employee 3 weeks ago, Leah Gardner, and Leah's role is client concierge, and her role literally, like, if you think, okay, what does a concierge do? It's white glove service. I mean, her role is to really what I want to be able to do to clients is say yes more often than we say anything else. Hey, can you get out and show me this home at 3 o'clock? Yes. Are you available on Saturday for an open house? Yes. I've got a cat in the house that the litter box needs to be moved for showings. We have a showing at 11. Can you guys do that? Yes. Right? So that really, the concierge role is to make sure that everything that we can possibly do for our client, we're doing. So not only is that a tactical role, it's also strategic. It's also, how can we, the reporting mechanism. When Leah's out with a client, she's coming back and saying, hey, they like this, they didn't like that. This is really the area that they're focusing on. I can take that and then call the client and be like, hey, I understand you guys saw something you really liked or whatever. It just allows that leverage and that coverage, and to make sure that we are really operating as efficiently as we can. And then the other team member is April that I mentioned earlier, who's my transaction coordinator back in my previous brokerage. Brought her over as a transaction coordinator and my assistant. I affectionately refer to her as like the mom of the team. Like, she just makes sure everyone is behaving and doing what they're supposed to do, and really kind of running the back end of the business operations so that we can go out and serve the clients. And then when it comes time to getting a transaction put together, April is the best in the biz at transaction management. Like, literally, her reputation is fantastic. When I took her from that brokerage, we left a handful of agents, probably 30 or 40 agents in the lurch, and I refer to April as my binky. She's like my pacifier. Like, she makes sure that everything is cool. So, from a client service perspective, that team, that strata, that layering that we have really allows for that 360-degree coverage to make sure that, like I said, we're saying yes more than anything else. We don't ever like to say no. But, there might be like, let me see what I can do. But now it's like, yep, we got you. We can do it.
So, as the person in charge of strategy for the Halpern Residential, what does the future look like? What are some of the things that you are working on your business?
Mm-hmm. That's something that really has been developing over probably the last 18 months, is putting an actual written strategy together. One of the excellent benefits that I get at North & Co. is access to their advisors, access to their coaches, access to their we refer to North & Co. as an open source brokerage, so we always share information. Right. But one of their business coaches, a guy by the name of Zanzibar Vermiglio, which sounds like he's from the future. Yeah. I mean, he's like a great name. I compare just that's impressive. The name alone is like, it totally sounds like he's from the future. But then, like, the way he dresses and carries himself, I refer to him. The movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Yeah. Rufus, the guy that comes from the future and is like, hey, you guys are going to be special and do some cool things. He's like Rufus. He's like, hey, man, we can do some really good stuff. So I participated in this. It's called Performance Initiative, and it was a team coaching thing through Zanzibar via North & Co., where it's like, what do you want out of your business? Not just like, well, I want to make $500,000 and I want to drive a Mercedes. No, it's like, what do you want? And so getting there, just actually like pushing yourself to, all right, what do you really want out of life? That should be the baseline of what you want to do in your business, and then you reverse engineer it. Okay, we got the goal. Let's figure out how we get there. And for me, my goal is to make a certain amount of money and to spend 2 months out of the year in an RV with my family. And when I finally got to that point, like, I had kind of like a canned answer for Zanzibar, and he's like, okay, yeah, we can do that. Yeah. And then when I was like, dude, you know what? Like, here's my goal. And I laid it out. He's like, yes. He's like, all right, let's build that. So for me, really, it's throwing targets out there. For me, I would love to do $75 million in volume as a team, not just me personally, but add the team layers to be able to do that, and to really kind of go into my neighborhood, to North Central Phoenix, and plant my flag. I haven't done that. I mean, kind of, but like not to the point where it's like my signs are, so well known in the neighborhood that it builds its own momentum,
Right.
type thing. So if I could get to $75 million in sales a year, and spend 2 months in an RV with my family going across the country, or 2 months traveling or whatever, that's the goal. That's what I want. Whether my family wants it or not. My wife's saying, but
you and me in an RV for 2 months.
totally. Maybe not 2 months straight, like 2 weeks, a week here, whatever. Our oldest is getting to the age where the eyes just naturally roll with like everything I say. So I'm like, her in an RV for 2 months. Maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see how it goes, though.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Trevor, for taking time out of your day and joining me on Real Estate Pros. Was a pleasure, man.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
We will see you guys on the next episode.